I was lying in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, when she turned to me with a fake gasp.
Amy must have taken it. She's been acting suspicious lately.
Amy, is this true?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was too weak to argue, but I managed to speak. I didn't take anything, Dad. You have to believe me.
Of course she'd deny it. Thieves always do. I can't believe this.
Dad looked at me, disappointment all over his face.
I can't do this anymore, Amy. You've brought nothing but trouble since your mother died.
Those words hit me harder than any illness ever could. The next day, Dad told me I wasn't welcome at home anymore.
You're old enough to figure things out on your own.
Christine stood behind him, laughing.
It's for the best, Amy. You need to learn some responsibility.
They left me in the hospital with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, no home, no family. I was heartbroken, but I wasn't broken. I vowed to prove them wrong, to show them I was worth something. When my mom died, I thought my life would never be the same. She was everything to me. Kind, loving, and always there when I needed her. My dad, he was different. He loved her, I think, but he wasn't the kind of man who expressed it. She got sick when I was 13, and he tried his best to take care of her at first. But as her condition got worse, he gave up. He said, we couldn't afford her treatment anymore. Mom died in our small living room because we couldn't even afford to keep her in the hospital. I remember holding her hand as she whispered her last words, asking me to take care of my dad and telling me he did his best. I believed her. I really did. But 6 months later, he rented a bigger house and brought in another woman who became my stepmom, as well as her 2 sons. When Christine and her kids moved in, I hoped she would try to make things better, to fill some of the emptiness that lingered in the house after my mom's death. But I was wrong. She made things worse. So much worse. At first, she hid her true colors behind fake smiles and overly sweet words when Dad was around. But the moment he left the room, it was like a mask fell off her face.
Amy, don't just sit there like a pig. Clear the table.
This was on her first week in our home. We had just finished dinner, and I thought she was joking, but her sharp glare told me she wasn't. I'll do it in a minute. I'm sorry. I always try to relax after eating to help with digestion.
Look, I don't care if you die of indigestion. You'll do it now. Don't make me repeat myself.
It was just the beginning. Soon, clear the table turned into wash the dishes, and wash the dishes turned into cleaning the entire house.
This place is filthy. How do you even live like this? You're a girl. Don't you have any pride in keeping things tidy?
She didn't just make me clean. She made me feel like I was disgusting for not being perfect. She'd walk into a room and deliberately knock things over, then blame me for the mess.
Clean this place up again, Amy, and this time do it properly.
Even when I worked hard, it was never enough. She'd inspect my work like I was some kind of servant and make me redo it over and over again. Then there were her ridiculous rules. I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch because she claimed I'd ruin it. I couldn't use the bathroom for more than 5 minutes because I was wasting water. And don't even get me started on meals.
You eat too much, Amy. You're not a child anymore. You don't need all that food.
She started serving me portions so small, I was constantly hungry. Meanwhile, she, her kids, and Dad would feast like kings. One time, I dared to ask for seconds at dinner. Christine, can I have a little more rice?
More? Haven't you had enough? We're not running a buffet here, you know, and we definitely don't want to start rearing pigs.
I could see my dad glance at me, but he didn't say a word. He just kept eating. The worst part was when Christine's punishments got petty and cruel. Like the time I accidentally spilled some juice on the kitchen floor.
Clean it up, and don't think you're done there. You're scrubbing the entire floor on your hands and knees.
She made me spend hours cleaning every inch of the kitchen while she sat back and scrolled through her phone. Or the time she accused me of losing her necklace, even though I never touched it.
You've always been careless, Amy. This is why I don't trust you with anything important.
But I didn't touch your necklace, Christine.
Are you calling me a liar? Go look for my necklace now, you bloody liar!
I searched the house for hours, only for her to find the necklace in her own purse. She didn't even apologize. But the thing that hurt the most wasn't Christine's cruelty. It was my dad's indifference. He saw how she treated me, but he never defended me. I asked him about it sometimes. Dad, why is she being so mean to me?
Don't exaggerate, Amy. Christine is just trying to teach you responsibility. Your mother didn't teach you well enough. That's why you see Christine's actions as cruel.
Responsibility? Was that what he called it? Forcing me to clean, cook, and eat scraps while they lived comfortably? And how dare he disrespect my late mother like that? I wanted to speak, but Christine summoned me, immediately ending the conversation. Christine had this way of twisting every situation to make it look like I was the problem. And Dad, being the spineless man he was, always believed her.
Richard, Amy's slacking off again. She tried to argue with me the other day. She has no respect for this household.
Amy, you need to listen to Christine. She's trying to help you.
Help me. She wasn't helping me. She was breaking me. Even her kids were encouraged to treat me like I was beneath them. Christine's sons followed her lead like little shadows.
Why are you sitting on the couch? Mom said you're not allowed?
They'd tattle on me for the smallest things, and Christine would blow everything out of proportion.
I told you not to sit on the couch, Amy. Do you think you're special or something? Were you about to argue with my child? How dare you? They're superior to you in this house, and you should respect them, you stupid girl.
Her boys would laugh while I stood there, humiliated. One day, I came home from school to find that Christine had gone through my things. My diary, my clothes, everything.
You have no privacy in this house, Amy. If you're hiding something, I'll find it and I'll take it. You can't do anything about it, so it's better you get a bowl to fill with your tears.
I felt violated, like nothing I owned was truly mine anymore. The final straw came when Christine accused me of stealing money. I had been saving up my little allowance for months to buy myself a new pair of shoes.
Where did you get this money, Amy? Did you take it from me?
No, I saved it.
Liar. You've been sneaking around, haven't you? Or have you started seeing boys?
She took the money, and my dad let her.
You shouldn't have stolen the money. How can you save that up? You surely stole from her. You deserve the punishment.
One day, Christine's accusations went too far. I'd been sick for weeks, coughing and running a fever. But Christine refused to let me rest.
You're not that sick, Amy. Stop being dramatic.
She would still make me do chores and barely let me rest. Eventually, I collapsed at school and was rushed to the hospital. That's when it happened. Christine showed up at the hospital with Dad. She was pacing the room, pretending to look worried, when she suddenly gasped.
Richard, my money was stolen from my bag at home, and I think Amy is here pretending to be sick after stealing my money.
I was lying in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines, when she turned to me with a fake gasp.
Amy must have taken it. She's been acting suspicious lately.
Amy, is this true?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was too weak to argue, but I managed to speak. I didn't take anything, Dad. You have to believe me.
Of course, she'd deny it. Thieves always do. I can't believe this.
Dad looked at me, disappointment all over his face.
I can't do this anymore, Amy. You've brought nothing but trouble since your mother died.
Those words hit me harder than any illness ever could. The next day, Dad told me I wasn't welcome at home anymore.
You're old enough to figure things out on your own.
Christine stood behind him, laughing.
It's for the best, Amy. You need to learn some responsibility.
They left me in the hospital with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, no home, no family. I was heartbroken, but I wasn't broken. I vowed to prove them wrong, to show them I was worth something. When the head doctor, Dr. Harrison, heard that I had been abandoned, he wasted no time stepping in. I was still weak, lying in a hospital bed, unsure of what would happen to me. But he reassured me like a real father.
You're not alone anymore, Amy. I'll take care of you.
True to his word, he took me into his home. His wife, Laura, and their 3 children welcomed me with open arms. For the first time in months, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I wasn't treated as a burden or a servant. I was loved. Laura made sure I caught up on school, buying me supplies and helping me with my homework. Their children treated me like a sister. They shared their rooms and everything with me. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, but never thought I'd have. Dr. Harrison didn't just stop with high school. When I expressed my dream of becoming a doctor like him, he promised to support me all the way. They paid for my college and med school, cheering me on at every milestone. 10 years later, I was no longer the scared, abandoned girl I once was. I was Dr. Amy, the head doctor at the very hospital where my life had changed. One busy afternoon, the emergency room doors burst open, and paramedics rushed in with 4 stretchers. As I approached, I couldn't hide my shock. It was my father, Christine, and her 2 sons. The paramedics explained they had been in a terrible car accident. The driver of the taxi survived without a scratch, but his passengers were badly injured. Christine and the boys were critically injured, while my father had severe trauma to his eyes. Despite everything they'd done to me, I pushed my emotions aside and ensured they received the best care possible. Hours later, the surgeries ended. Both of Christine's sons were gone. Their injuries had been too severe. When Christine regained consciousness and learned of their deaths, she let out a wail that shook the room. Her grief was so overwhelming that she suffered a heart attack, which left her with partial paralysis from a stroke. My father's injuries left him completely blind. He was devastated, but not as much as Christine, who had lost everything in one night. As head doctor, I had the difficult task of discussing their medical bills. I approached their room with my clipboard, feeling a strong sense of justice as I looked at their broken forms. Your medical bills are substantial. If you can't pay within a week, we'll have to discharge you.
We don't have that kind of money. Before this accident, we had lost almost everything to some scammers. Please, we need time.
My dad recognized my voice and wanted to hug me, but I refused and maintained a stern expression. Christine was surprised that I had become so successful.
Hey, Amy, I'm your mother. Be nice to us and help us. We are family.
No, we are not. You are all strangers to me. No. If you can't pay your bills, then you need to make arrangements to leave. They couldn't pay. I knew they couldn't. 3 days later, they were forced out of the hospital. Christine, barely able to walk, and my blind father struggling as well, I later realized my father had no choice but to beg on the streets, while my stepmom, who was partially paralyzed, lay in bed at home, unable to ever be abusive to anyone. My stepmom tried contacting me via phone severally, but I never replied and blocked her number. I never looked back. My life with the Harrisons was more than I could have ever hoped for. They taught me what family truly meant: love, support, and kindness. And while my biological father and stepmother faced the consequences of their actions, I thrived with the family I had found. Thanks for watching.